What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the still technically latest chapter review for Kengan Omega, chapter 311. Now, for those of you who don't know why this is so late and why I'm hoping that it comes out before 312 drops, you know, we'll see. We're hoping for that. But either way, yeah, for those of you who don't know why, there's a video, you know, on my channel explaining all that stuff. So anyways, let's just get underway with the review. Chapter 311, we start off with something that I'm like, alright, so we ended off the last chapter after the Wakatsuki greatness, you know, 310 was a really good chapter. And then, and Omari was no slouch, by the way. You know, once again, I really do despise power scalers as a whole for a lot of reasons, because they're very, you're either in there are three camps of power scalers, you know what I mean? You have the ones that are feats only shown, and they're 99% of the time wrong. Then you have told feats, and those people are extremely arrogant. And then you have this middle breed between the two who discount some. The problem is they don't accept both parties. They just discount selective said feats and shown feats from both sides, and it's an absolute nightmare. So the problem with that is that Omari did a fantastic job, in my opinion. And he was there to set the bar as the second strongest Fang. He set the bar to showcase Waka has evolved. Waka has gotten even stronger. That's all it was. It's not to push Omari down, and I hate, because you know what the power scales will do. They'll put Omari now in C tier. And it's like, no, that's not where he belongs. You know what I mean? This was to up Waka, not downgrade Omari. And yeah, I'm already seeing it on some of the Reddit debates and stuff, and I'm just... Anyways, so, fact of the matter is the end, but that's not what we're here to talk about. The end part of the chapter talked about the fact that the final stage is going to be set on Ganryu Island, which is the same place, of course, as Ashura, blah, blah, blah. It's where it all began, and I'm very stoked for that. I'm like, this is perfect. I was worried they were going to do something in the inside. I really was. I don't care if we ever go back to the inside. We got this multitude labyrinth of craziness and stuff, and a million things can go wrong, like 6 tiers of underground madhouse. I'm like, that's all for another manga, in my opinion. I'm like, yeah, it's great, but we don't need to know about that. We don't care about that. We care when it's relevant to the backstories of our characters, but they're not living in the inside. You know what I mean? They avoid it. So, Ganryu Island, perfect a battleground, in my opinion. Now, Yan, Nogi, and Matsudo are all there, and they're discussing all this, and it actually works out in both their favors. They're like, okay, it's hard to get intruders in. Granted, the Guardian, and this is funny because I saw a lot of people complain about the whole Guardians thing, the Guardians coup, right? But I'm sitting there like, well, they talked about intruders getting in. If you recall, the bodyguards prevented multiple intruders from getting in. And then they did prevent a certain sect of the Guardians getting in. But the guy who was bringing the Guardians in was invited. Right? So, like, he was bringing his own elite, like, bodyguards and squad to rival that of Matsudo's in the first place. Because he's always had a bit of a, you know, dick-swinging competition with the man. And it's like, okay, so that's a little different from the, like, third-party intruders, which is what both Nogi, Matsudo, and Yan are all concerned with. It's funny, they won't openly talk about it, but we get it from Yan that they all know that Luhan and Tiger Nico are going to use this as an opportunity, but they don't know how or when, so it's going to be like, alright, we're going to have to figure this out. You know that Mutawa, the man who makes all men, even porn stars, feel inadequate in the bedroom, Mutaba will be in charge of security. And it's going to be fan-fucking-tastic. You know that that man's going to show up, and he's just going to be a head of security, and he's going to be like, yeah. No. It's going to take Tiger Nico or Luhan to get through Mutaba and his security, right? Like, the rest of them, no. So, but we know that this is where it's all coming down and stuff like that. Now, I really like this section of the chapter. It's short, it's sweet, but it gets to the point and stuff like that. Like, they're all worried about the same thing, but of course, nobody wants to show weakness in this meeting, so nobody's really talking about it openly, right? Then we see Koga and Ryuki cooking in tank tops. I mean, See, here's the thing. As someone who cooks all the time, as someone who owns wife beaters, and if you guys can tell, I have definition, but I'm not exactly a muscle guy. You know what I mean? I haven't worked out in a long time, and granted, me taking my shirt off does not wow the female gaze. You know what I mean? So, but even if it did, the fact of the matter is that I wear that shit when it's really, really hot out. You know what I mean? Like when I'm mowing the lawn in 30-degree heat. For you Americans, you know, it's like over 90, okay? When it's over 90 Fahrenheit and stuff like that, and you're sweating and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fine, dandy. The fact of the matter is like, okay, I can argue that in the kitchen I've gotten sweaty, blah, 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 and I put a bandana on, you know, to cover the sweat. That's why people use bandanas in Hell's Kitchen and all these cooking shows you might see. They're always wearing, like, you know, they're always wearing do-rags or bandanas and stuff like that. It's literally to keep the sweat off, right? Off their brow while they're cooking over high heat and stuff like that. The fact of the matter is that, saying all that, they're wearing aprons over tank tops. Or wife beaters, whatever you want to call them. And I'm sorry, because I own 6. 3 black, 3 white, Calvin Klein brand. Not a bad brand, right? Calvin Klein brand wife beaters. I own 3 white, 3 black, okay? I wear them to do yard work, to do whatever, when I'm really hot and I'm, you know, whatever. But I would never wear an apron over, because, like, this is the most egregious thing that's happened in Kengan Omega all year. Like, what? They're both wearing aprons while wearing what is happening here? Like, you wear an apron to protect a nice shirt, right? Like, generally speaking, the rule of thumb, there's multiple reasons to wear an apron, but generally speaking, the main rule of wearing an apron is literally so that when things squirt back, you have bacon grease, whatever, A, your chest is protected, and B, to not get grease and stains all over your shirt. But I don't know a single person who owns a wife beater, which, like, this is my really nice to go to the wedding wife beater. It has to stay clean. Like, these are shirts that you work out in, that you work on cars in, that you sweat in and get grease on and stuff. It's literally an oxymoron. It's kind of, is it irony or an oxymoron? It's a little bit of both. It's bothering me more than anything else that has happened in Kengan Omega. The fact that they're both these muscle-bound, steroid-using motherfuckers are standing here in aprons while wearing wife beaters, and it's like, what are you protecting? Like, you wear a nice shirt, or a shirt you just don't want to get dirty or stained. Who gives a fuck if a wife beater? I don't know a single person in the history. I'm going to go as Vin Diesel, because he wears them in all the Fast and Furious movies. Like, do you give a fuck, or do you just pull out one of the 20 you bought for $5.99? Like, seriously. I want to see what the most expensive wife beater is. After I'm done recording this, I'm going to see if there is some, like, crazy designer brand wife beater that costs, like, $500. Because even then, I'm still not convinced that these dudes would, A, even own that shit. They went to Walmart. They bought, as I said, I own Calvin Klein ones. These guys bought the George brand. They went to Costco and bought the Kirkland brand. They bought a 10-pack for $3. Not on sale. Like, seriously. What are you protecting? It's the most egregious thing I've seen in Kengan. Okay, glad I got that out of my system. Anyways, moving on from this. Ryuki brings up the fact, like, Koga, like, as they're prepping something, they're like, do you actually want to fight Shen? And he doesn't really immediately say that he wants to fight Shen. What he says is, you know I can't. So at least Koga and Ryuki are getting a little realistic here. It's like, no, even if I wanted to fight the guy, I can't fight the guy because I'm no match for the guy. You know what I mean? Then he says, I don't have anything against the guy, besides it makes more sense for you or Oma to fight him. This is all true. However, the whole idea of, oh, I don't have anything against the guy, brings a lot into the... How do I say this? Everybody goes backwards and looks back at Chapter 1 Koga and then brings this up and says, yeah, no. He needs to be the strongest, and he hates everyone who's stronger than him and blah, blah, blah. It's called maturity. It's called growing the fuck up. Oma's not the same crazy wild beast we met in Chapter 1 of Ashura either. Yeah, people still like Oma as a character for the most part. So, I've seen the argument about this chapter that Koga's like way too docile and this is completely against his character. I would argue that his character was broken way back the moment he went under Kurushi and Seki. Back before Oma was even brought back to life. So, stop complaining at this point. Like, shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? Because at this point, Koga's character, in my opinion, already went against his Chapter 1 to 5 dynamics of fancy moves and training and blah, blah, blah. I just need my pure strength and blah, blah, blah. He went against his own Chapter 1 ideology and code by Chapter 12. So shut the fuck up about him not being the same person now, like 3-year time skip later, 300 chapters in. Like, if you're going to complain about Koga, do what I did and complain about him back in Chapter 12. Don't bring your shit to me now on the doorstep. That's such old news. That's literally like 5-year-old news. So complaining about it now makes no fucking sense. Because I would just argue he's grown since then. Because he grew, apparently, between Chapter 1 and Chapter 15. Why the fuck do you assume he hasn't grown between Chapter 15 and Chapter 300? His attitude changed. It's called character growth. Shut the fuck up. There's nothing wrong with this. Koga realizes the outmatch. Once again, he was the crazy guy because he wanted to constantly fight Ryuki. Anybody remember that at the beginning? He always wanted to fight Ryuki. And then it was like, yeah, no. You know what I mean? Like, then he learned, like, no, I'm not a match for everyone. I think what really humbled him at the very end of the day, because he didn't want to do the second training, he didn't want to do the Kurushi training, what really humbled him was when he got his ass kicked by Zaiji and all the, and the worm guys, and they nearly killed him, and then Oma came back to life. That sort of Chapter 50 thing, that's when things really started to change for Koga, and he had to realize, like, you know, there's a world out there that I wasn't even aware of level, you know what I mean? So, you can argue it, but I just think you're picking at straws because you hate the series. And why are you reading it? I don't know. I don't know. I'm seeing it so all over Reddit. Like, I didn't even check for this chapter. I didn't even check. Well, I checked 2 Discords. It was the usual suspect sort of idea. But mostly, I'm just seeing it all over Reddit. In different Reddit forums. And I'm just like, the focus isn't, oh, this is cool that it's happened on Ganryu Island. You know, like, we're not focusing on that cool stuff. We're only focusing on the negative once again. And I'm just like, I really just want to find a Discord or a Reddit forum that is, like, positive. Like, a little bit of positive. Say you know, like, oh, I didn't like this part of the chapter. But have a positive outlook on Kengan Omega. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just me. Anyways. So, yeah. They start, you know, whatever they're making, they seem to be making a stew of some description or whatever like that. They both say, like, yeah, after all the training I did, can't see myself beating him. You know, Ryan tore us both a new one sort of idea. Yamagohan's son comes down and says, we have a visitor, and it's fucking Jackie. Jackie's like, hey, dudes, why don't I come in? Like, I'm here to see Yamagohan, because he's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong, Shen. And then he's like, oh, Yamagohan's not here. It's like, wow, but you guys served me a plate. This is great. Like, thanks. Like, you know, I hope I'm not putting you, you know, out sort of idea. Because once again, Jackie's awesome. We love Jackie. And they're both thinking, like, is this guy really our enemy? And once again, it's like, no, technically he's not. Once again, the Worm is a terrorist organization that is doing all this under this, like, cult-like devotion towards the Connector. Now, you could argue he is still a villain because he's not actively trying to stop them, But I would argue that's not exactly the case. You know what I mean? People bring this up all the time, and I'm still under the impression that, like, once again, this is a guy with lacking a lot of human emotion. He's lacking a lot of empathy towards his fellow man because he's so far evolved. Can you even call him a fellow man anymore? You know what I mean? So because of this fact, he does lack, unfortunately, a lot of empathy and stuff like that. And as a result, what the worm said is like, let us help you to further your goals. And he's like, all right, do your thing. Whatever you think is right, whatever. He doesn't give orders. He doesn't do anything. So you can argue that he's to blame as a result of that, but it's more of a nonchalance towards had, you know, Big Bird shown up from Sesame Street and said, or Barney had shown up and said, hey, Shen, why don't I help you to be friends, blah, blah, blah. Shen would have been like, is that going to be, all right, and go with that. Like, once again, look at how quickly the moment somebody else offered and said, Shen, you can't, when Yamagohan sat there and said, this is your plan, I don't want you to do this, you can't do this, how about we try to find an alternate method? He immediately agreed. He went, alright, we'll try it your way. Like, I'm not against alternate methods. Nobody else showed up with a proposition for the man. As I said, he's lacking empathy, but it doesn't make him this cold-hearted, evil person. You know what I mean? You could argue that lack of empathy does make you inherently evil, but I would argue it just makes you painfully logical. Sort of like a Vulcan from Star Trek, you know what I mean? And it's like, if it's not a logical conclusion, it's like human emotion doesn't factor into the equation. The death or life does not factor into the state, right? It's all about reaching the end of the equation. So it's more computerized. It's more logical, really, which you could argue is very, what's the word? Not heartbreaking. It's very cold-hearted. It's extremely cold-hearted. Which, yeah, that's what he's doing. But, yeah, anyways. So once again, we're getting this nice, this really nice scene with Jackie and stuff like that. It's like, well, you know, Dad's coming home soon and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know, you can stay. You know, he's going to be home in the evening. You can stay, like, obviously they were making lunch because he said, you can stay the afternoon and chill and stuff like that. And he's like, and then they asked, like, oh, well, that'd be nice. And Jackie, what did you come here for anyway? He's like, well, I really wanted to share this food I bought, you know. I bought these croquettes and stuff like that at the butcher shop. They said they'd be really good, you know. They're the best ones I've ever tasted. So I really just wanted to share with my burros. And I'm like, once again, the man's just like, you know, he's trying his best. Like, give the man a break and stuff. He's like, that's why you bought so many. He's like, man, these are really good. He's like, yeah, try dipping it in the curry and stuff. And I'm like, all right, look at this man, you know. So yeah, either way, Koga actually straight up asked, and this is what I more expect from Koga. I really wish that Oma or Yamagohan was here because I prefer Oma's interactions with. You know, once again, I feel like we were robbed of the campfire trio, the greatest in the verse, the Beard, the main character, and the final antagonist, all just chilling around a campfire eating good food. I feel like we missed out on multiple chapters of that. However, it's still nice to see, like, Koga just bring up the niceties is fine, but it's nice to bring up, like, I just want to get straight to the point. Do you think we have a right to fight you as we currently stand? And Jackie even brings up, he's like, what do you mean you need a right to fight me? If you want to fight me, you can always ask. You know, like, alright. He's like, you know, you think of it as a Kengan match, then only one person can fight me. But don't worry, we're adjusting the rules right now to satisfy anybody who wants to fight me. So, once again, this is what a lot of people assumed would happen, is that they're not going to just pick one fighter. It might not necessarily be a tournament, but more of a round robin, almost. Or, not round robin, more King of the Hill style. You know what I mean? King of the Castle. There's multiple names for it. But sort of, you know, that idea that he's going to stand at the top and, like, multiple people can fight to maybe they'll have a tournament that the 6 finalists get the chance to fight him or something like that. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, the top 6 or the top 8 get the opportunity to fight Shen one-on-one. or maybe they are going to do multiple, whatever, but it's implied that this is going to happen, and it's like, all right, so finally we're getting confirmation that we're editing the rules. It's not just going to be one-on-one fight. And it's like, yeah, so it's like the question is whether you're up for it or not. Yamagohan gets home and stuff like that. They're playing a video game together and stuff like that, and Jackie's like, oh, I lost again, what the hell? And it's like, you know, like, this is the fun-loving character, and it is so different, and this is why I don't understand people don't like the current Kengan writing. And I understand why for a lot of reasons, but this is a villain, quote unquote, that I really don't think we have seen. I'm not going to say it's completely original or we haven't seen it before, but it's refreshing. You know what I mean? It's just really refreshing. Sort of like we haven't really had a Frieza or a Shishio Makoto or a Hawa Sakura since the 90s. We haven't had a dude who is just straight up evil for the sake of being evil. Even the most evil villains in current manga stuff, they always have a tragic backstory. You don't need to agree with their fallout or their reasonings for going hardcore evil, but they all need to be a tragedy of Darth Vader. They all need to be an Anakin Skywalker when they were growing up. No. What about just a dude who's a psychopath from the get-go and is now just a even more psychopath now? You know what I mean? We haven't had that in most shonen and battle mangas for a long time, in my opinion. Or even if they are, they're more of a niche series or something like that. You know what I mean? Like just a straight up, you were always evil. There's no reason for you to be evil. You were just born fucking wrong. You know what I mean? We haven't had that in a long time. So in the same sense, I'm saying that not that Jackie is completely original, being this like fun-loving, like, yeah, you want to hate him but you can't level. It's just straight up, you know, this is a nice twist. This is a fun twist that you almost want it to be like a UFC fight. You want it to be, or a Rocky movie. You're like, you don't necessarily hate Apollo Creed or Rocky. You just want to see which one of them won the third fight. You know what I mean? Two of the best boxers of all time going head to head to see which one really stands out on top. That's sort of the feeling that I'm getting from this, and I like that. Every time we see these very comical, very slice of life interactions with Shen, I'm pulled back into that mindset, you know? Final part of the chapter we do get, and I'm sorry guys, this has been incredibly long, but I guess I haven't been doing this for a long time, for a while now, you know what I mean? So anyway, so I'm just getting a lot off my chest over the last few weeks. I guess I'm getting a lot off my chest in my regards to, because I'm still on my phone scrolling through all the Kengan Discords and the Kengan Reddits and stuff like that, and I'm constantly just going through and seeing people's opinions, so it's all amalgamating, you know, over a couple weeks. So apologies for that. But anyways, end part of the chapter is that Carla and Oma end up going to visit Setsuna. Well, Carla walks Oma there, sort of idea. But Oma, they decide to have a private conversation because Setsuna has actually finally woken up and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool and stuff. And either way, they're just chilling, like, you know, it's sort of like old rivals, old friends sort of idea. And this is where it's like, you need something from me, Oma? He says, well, I don't think we're going to get another chance for a while like this. So I think you and I should actually just, once again, have a proper heart-to-heart talk for once. And they've never fully really just laid it all out on the table. And these guys have such a intertwined history and backstory together. Their relationship to Tiger Nico, the other Nico, you know, just everything with their two masters and stuff like that. And of course, everything that happened in Ashura. They have such an intertwined history, and everything that went down with Ryuki as well. I think this is really good. This is really nice that they're like almost like, you know what, Oma was the one to go seek out Setsuna. End of chapter is, you know what, I'd be glad to. Let's talk, Oma. Because Setsuna has almost, I'm not saying he's not still fucking nuts, but he has certainly rounded himself to a degree. Do you know what I mean? He's not as batshit crazy as he once was, I would argue. Maybe he got on some good meds here in the hospital. I don't know. But either way, and Oma has sort of accepted Setsuna for how he is and why he is the way he is. You know what I mean? Once again, a good argument towards Setsuna is the villain I was just talking about, in the fact that Setsuna was not born evil. He's a product of his environment, sort of idea. And that, unfortunately, is the common villain trope of today's characters. It works very well for Setsuna, but Setsuna is not our full main villain. You know what I mean? He is a villain. He is not the villain, you know? So it's fine to have that character trope. It's just when all of your main villains across all your manga are like that, you know? So, anyways, I'm really looking forward. Sorry this was so long. Once again, I had a lot to get off my chest, clearly, because I haven't been recording. I haven't been doing this for a while, you know what I mean? I managed to spit out 310 and the One Piece review really quickly 2 nights ago, but yeah, this is the first time I've been able to sit down, relax, and do some recording here. And this isn't the only one I'm going to record today, because I finally found some time, feeling a little bit better and stuff, as you guys can tell. So I'm just excited to, you know, be talking some manga stuff, you know what I mean? But anyways, I really like the chapter, except for the whole apron thing. As I said, that must have been like a 7-minute rant. And I'm not cutting a single fucking part of it. I am not cutting a single part of that, because I know I'm right. Fight me on this one. Let's go. You want to beat up an old man with gout? Come on, get comment section. I think I can take ya. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, that's it. Looking forward to, as I said, hopefully this is out before. I'm going to try to get this produced by the end of tonight, so it should be out before 312 drops. Might not get to 312 tomorrow. Sorry about that. But we will hopefully either get out tomorrow or Thursday, you know, so we're fully caught up with Kengan. I'm going to record a couple more reviews here tonight, and hopefully get some of those out, you know, throughout the week and stuff like that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for your patience, keeping up with me and stuff like that. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys back here next time for Kengan Omega, chapter 312. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. See ya.